What's up, gang, and welcome back to the Quarter Mile Podcast. We are so glad you're here with us. Episode 3, we're drifting along. Literally, we're in Tokyo Drift. It's going to be a great episode. This is such a special episode. This is like an upgrade on so many reasons. First of all, you might notice we are not in Bailey's house in her guest room.
Or on a computer.
So we've actually, we are in a garage. We are in one of the coolest places I never knew existed until this week, actually. We are in Jackson, Tennessee at Rusty's Car Museum with lots of cars from lots of different movies. So this is such a cool place, and we're going to show up a bunch of clips later just showing you around. This is if you're anywhere near Jackson and you like movie cars. And right behind us, you will see Paul Walker, a.k.a. Brian O'Connor's car from Fast and Furious 1. And it's so much cool stuff here. Also, this is a special episode because for the first time in Quarter Mile Podcast history, we have a special guest.
Hi,
yeah.
Mom.
Everybody give a hand.
Give it up for Alan Ingalls. Let's hear it from. Well, I said let's hear it. That's the stand-up comedy meme.
Yeah.
There's literally no one in
In order
here.
for you to clap virtually, you can like and share and comment on this podcast. Thank you for your contributions.
There actually is a few people walking around the museum looking at cars while we're recording.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got an audience.
So yeah, we do. We have a live audience, and we have you guys who are alive in our audience. But joining me and Bailey today, we have Alan. Alan is a good friend of both of ours. I feel like I've known you for over a decade.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We met at comedy clubs at South Street Comedy Club back in the day. We're going to give you a space to introduce yourself, but I need to catch the audience up on something very important. After our first episode, Alan sent me a message, and I feel like I need to read the highlights of the message because it does pertain to our podcast episode. So here's what Alan told me right from the beginning. He said, "So you say you're the biggest Fast and Furious fan?"
I said it just like that, too.
Yeah, in my head, that's how it went. He's like, "I think not. I challenge you for the title of the biggest Fast and Furious fan. We can do a game show style quiz that Bailey can curate. Do you accept my challenge?" Then he also said, "Also, I would love to be a special guest on episode 3 to explain why Tokyo Drift is my favorite film of the entire franchise," which is an opinion. And we're excited to hear it. So first of all, yes, Alan, I do accept your challenge to lay claim to who's the biggest Fast and Furious fan of all time. But we're going to get to that quiz at the end of the episode, so stick around for that. But first, we did this in episode 1, me and Bailey, but I would love for you to introduce yourself and kind of talk about, I guess, your relationship with Fast and Furious. And if you want to take the time to tell us why Tokyo Drift's your favorite, we'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, so I'm R. Alan Ingalls. I am a filmmaker and photographer with a passion for music, macchiatos, and just about anything with a motor. And that last one came from the Fast and Furious. I saw magazines on magazine racks back when those existed that had cool cars on the front of them. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And it kind of piqued my interest. I was like, that's neat. But then the Fast and the Furious came out and I was like full on like, oh, this is like, I got to get me one of those. Like Will Smith says in Independence Day.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta get me one of these. Yeah. So that's when my passion for cars came from that movie with just little seeds of magazines and other things and before that. But I got a car. I started fixing it up. I joined a car club. And when I actually started a car club, which was, I didn't know what I was doing, so it was terrible. And then I joined a real car club called Sinister Elegance right here in this town, Jackson, Tennessee, and was hanging out with other car people when this third movie came out. And I was like, we all went to the theater as a car club. And I think part of my love for this film is not just the movie itself, but the time of my life that I was in and the people I shared the experience with.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, so he gets a pass.
Okay, yeah, he's allowed to say Fast and Furious. Tokyo Drift is his favorite. I have a question about your car club and car enthusiasm life. Have you personally ever tried like drifting? Like, do you drift? Like,
I have tried. I don't know if I would say I have drifted. I have drifted accidentally multiple times.
Yeah, the snow.
Well, rain. Needed new tires that day on the old car. I have put my name into the hat of many forms of automotive racing. I won't go into what all ones. I don't want to incriminate myself.
It's fair.
And I have won some. I have lost some. I've made money. I've not made money. I've lost money. But I got married pretty young, and my wife was like, no more.
That's fair.
Because I was like,
Women
hey, yo.
ruin every...
Didn't you say that last time?
do.
Yes.
And I will keep saying, yes, they do.
We needed to buy formula, and I was like, I can go make a buck real quick, and she was like, no. And when I had a 2-seater vehicle when we had our first child, and I had to get rid of that vehicle and get something with a backseat, right? And when I sold my vehicle that I loved to get something to accommodate that child, she knew, like, okay, he's in this. He's gonna be a good dad. He's in this to win it, right? And then I got that car and put modifications on it, and then it was loud. I put exhaust on it. And I was like, how am I gonna put some NOS on this? And that's when she was like,
yes.
I know where this is going, and no. And so from that day forward, I have had really loud, really modified, really cool vehicles, but ain't an air one of them had no NOS anymore since those first two. So, unfortunately.
You don't need NOS in racing when you have family.
That's right.
Well, you could just, go to your local Walmart and buy some NOS out of the fridge.
Drink.
There we go.
But
Yeah.
I have family. I got 4 kids and a wife, a dog, and a cat. So I got all the NOS I need.
There you go.
And Bailey, I feel like we haven't caught up with you yet. How's life been for the past month?
Well, it's been quite stressful. My house has been flooding, but they have gotten that fixed out, so we're good on that one. And I'm going to be filming my music video coming up here soon for a song called Dear Diary that I've written, and I'll be releasing it very soon, so that's in the works. That's probably going to be the next few months or so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and when it comes out, we'll share it on all the things. But just for you all right now, just know, like, it's coming up.
Yeah.
2 things to get excited about in life: Fast 11 and Bailey's new music video.
Yeah.
Debatably, the order might be reversed on that one. Like, I don't know. So.
I don't know. It's up to different tastes.
Let's get into just some Fast and Furious related stuff. I think that's why we're here, right? Yep. So first, before we get into Tokyo Drift, just a little response recap over Too Fast, Too Furious based off of our last episode. Much like the movie reviews back when it came out, we've had some not great comments. My favorite from one of my friends, because now that I do this podcast, some of my friends, they try to watch the movies and keep up with us. One of my friends, Joe, he wrote me this message. He said, "Gave it my best shot. It took 3 sittings, and I could not finish the movie." Talking about Too Fast, Too Furious. Wow. It's like, I'm sorry, I feel like I failed, but here's my haiku review. I did not like it. I'm more of a Mel Brooks guy. Much love and respect. And
I understand that.
So it's totally cool. We understand that not every movie is for everyone. And this whole podcast is about just having fun, having good times, and, watching things that make you happy. And if that's not Fast and Furious, that's okay. But we do now have a requirement for everyone who doesn't like Fast and Furious. You have to send us haiku. I think that's the rule. Yeah,
exactly. Give us a haiku as to why you don't like a certain Fast and Furious.
You're going to make them work for it.
Yeah. It's not really disdain if there's not a haiku attached
and we'll read it on
so.
our podcast and give you credit.
Yes, absolutely. And then you become a famous poet based off of the Quarter Mile podcast.
Like Robert Frost.
Absolutely.
Good for you.
If he was still around, he would totally write to our podcast.
So he might be a Fast
American
and Furious
poet.
fan. So
I think
he would have been.
As good as he is, he's definitely a... Anyway, this next comment came from a random guy from TikTok. It was on our, which is always the best comments, so the random people from TikTok. This was when we posted one of the we posted a few reels about Eva Mendes. We
love Eva.
I'm a fan.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
And I think I think my comment was something like, "Man, let us know at our wedding or whatever about this." And he responded, "She ain't gonna marry your creepy looking self." First of all,
oh boy,
ouch. Secondly, let me have my dreams. I don't know who you are, but a creepy looking person can dream. Also, I don't appreciate this double standard we've had on TikTok. When episode 1 came out, the same woman 3 times posted to Bailey, she move the microphone so we can see your pretty looking face on 3 different videos. And I feel like these people are just telling me, move the microphone so we can see less of your creepy looking face is what I feel like. And I'm just not here for it.
Somebody compared me to Ice Spice, though, so I don't know if that's entirely. I don't know. Was that a compliment?
It's just the hair. I don't see anything else.
It has
to be just the curls, right?
I had to
Maybe.
look up to remind myself who Ice
she
Spice
was.
was before. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know how to respond to this comment.
She's
until
friends
I
with Taylor,
Google.
so, you know.
That's right. That's all I know about it. Like, oh, she was standing
Supposedly.
behind Taylor at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's how I want to get my fame. After your music video and then you're big, I'm just gonna stand.
I'll just
be
become
in the back
famous to
there,
be a lookalike
and then-
or something.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, and then the last response that we got, this was kind of fun. But when we posted that reel with the theory about Brian and Roman having a
They
bromance,
were so mad.
Oh my gosh, I think we upset the entire straight male community behind Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
That I mean, they were very defensive. Like, no, and we're not gay either. You know, like
Yeah.
it was.
And just so you haters know, a theory, the definition of a theory means that it's not a proven fact.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and remember, this is about fictitious characters anyway.
literally,
This is not real life.
it's like
But I was one of those guys. I was like, oh, no, you
Anything.
didn't.
it's literally like anything.
Today we're talking about Tokyo Drift. Before we get into our wonderful AI summary that Alan's going to read for us, just some brief details. Tokyo Drift came out in 2006, which is the year I graduated high school. Alan, what were you doing in 2006?
I was working in IT, pretty much spending my entire paycheck on my car. I was hanging out with the car club and my girlfriend at the time. We weren't married yet. And definitely enjoyed going to the theater to see this movie in theaters with 30 other car heads.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. I did not know that about you, that you were in a car club. You're so into the cars and everything like that. And
It's the only part of my life I haven't tried to monetize yet, and then here we are.
Yeah.
This is it. This is going to be what picks up. So
It's the most expensive part of my life, too.
What was going on in 2006 for you, Bailey?
What do you think was going on?
Let's hear it. Were you 5? So she still hadn't seen Tokyo Drift yet, but
I was drifting in my diapers or something.
you're doing something in your diapers. So, but hey, maybe your parents saw it too. I know you guys watch the podcast.
Yeah,
Thank you
my parents definitely watched.
Thank
it.
you, Karen
Yeah.
and
Rodney.
Rodney. Yeah, I was gonna say Bailey's dad.
I don't know if they're okay with their names being disclosed, but
Oh, whoops.
that may or may not be their names.
Yeah. Also, it could be Roger and Baron. So probably not.
Do I need to hit the censor button on the board?
Anyway, the cool thing about when this movie came out for me was this was the first, when this movie came out, me and my friends started like binge watching Fast and Furious every time a new movie. It became now it's called Furious Weekend because it took some, but it started with just a sleepover and a few high school guys that watched the first two, then went and saw
That's
the third
cool.
one, and then that became a thing every time the next
I do
movie
that
came
now,
out.
yeah.
And so now it's become such a big deal where like the way it works with me, and I'm working to make it a national holiday. In fact, my goal is for this podcast to become so big that we get enough money where you can actually purchase days to be holidays.
No kidding?
For a weekend, it'd be about like $5,000.
That's
so I'm just
all?
saying that
Oh.
it's not it's expensive for nothing, but
Right.
it's achievable if you want to waste your money on something.
Go
good.
fund me link here.
But so now what we do is we watch all the movies when the new one comes out. Then we go out to like a really nice dinner, and then we go see the new one in theaters. And now it's become like a weekend thing. And so especially when I was like a youth pastor, it was always on Easter weekend that new Fast and Furious movies come out. And it was really kind of funny because on Easter weekend, all my social media feeds, all my friends were like posting, like minister friends were posting like, you know, he is risen, or Bible verses, or God stuff. And I'm like, The Rock just punched a torpedo. And like, so it was.
He is risen.
So, yeah, he's rising for sure. So, you know what else is rising? There's all this testosterone from these car races. Anyway,
Oh my god.
yeah. So, but this was the movie that we started marathoning them, so that's special. Also about Tokyo Drift, the stars this movies had Lucas Black playing Sean, Shad Moses, aka Little Bow Wow, playing Twinkie.
Love him.
I really liked that character.
I
wish-
forgot he was
Yeah.
in that movie.
yeah,
I was
so
like, that's
lovable.
Bow Wow.
Yeah, he was just.
And he never did anything else of significance in the film industry,
No.
right?
No,
Like, did he have?
I don't think
did he have a movie role that I forgot about, or did he just straight
He
up?
was in
this
one.
is it.
He was in one episode of Smallville. I know that's not a huge deal.
I think he was in something else as well that I had grown up watching, but I can't remember what it was. 'Cause
This was
he's
definitely his
got a
star
familiar
This is
face.
it.
breakout
man.
role,
Once you
Yeah.
do a Fast and Furious, you really don't need.
yeah.
I mean, that's the pinnacle of.
You're cemented.
That's what we hope your first movie is, Bailey. Hope they call you for Fast 12.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So
Okay.
yeah, let's do it. Vin Diesel, if you're listening to this,
Yeah.
See if you can get my car feature in the movie when you get.
that would be so
Hire
cool.
me.
Then it can go in this museum.
That would be great. Also, we had Nathalie Kelly playing Neela. What? I don't know who she is.
I was going to say
Neela?
another actress that I don't think I have ever seen since or before.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
Nah.
now Sean Boswell, his Lucas Black.
Lucas Black.
Was in,
He was in other stuff,
Sling
too.
Blade.
Yeah.
And like he was in a couple things that he was known for even before this and got him recognized by Justin Lin for this movie. But
Yeah.
like I think, and of course, Han was someone that Justin worked with before.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
That's a cool fact that we'll
but
get into.
I don't think anybody else was, they were all kind of unknowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was a good movie. Finally, we had Brian T as DK, and then Sung Kang as Han, who of course came back for a lot of other movies. And
Yeah.
is kind of like the star of it. It felt like to me like he ended up being like the star of the show in this movie, kind of thing.
It was like the first two movies. Well, like the first movie, there were many stars. You know, there was Bow Wow really had a spotlight on him, and he really shined in this movie, despite being kind of almost a side character,
Yeah.
kind of not the main guy. And yeah, I believe Han was definitely. And then of course Lucas Black. Those three
Yeah.
characters like really pushed the narrative in this movie.
I would have loved to see more about Bow Wow. Like, I don't know what more
Yes.
they could have done, but it
And
would have been
Neela.
fun to, yeah.
I would have
Well,
liked a little bit more. I don't know that if it would have actually. I'll say this: I don't know if it would have helped or made the movie any better. I'm just curious more about
Right.
her world, her backstory, and
What a,
more than
talk
what
about
they
what
actually.
a weird we'll maybe get into that later, but what a weird backstory.
Yeah,
for her.
I'm so
Like,
confused.
Yeah.
Where are you from? Here, obviously not. You know, like
So, and then most notably in this movie, this was the first time director for Fast and Furious was Justin Lin, and of course he came back and directed. So he directed 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. So he ended up directing 6 of the movies.
Right.
wow.
And so he's a big reason as to why Fast and Furious is the way it is now and
Yeah.
how it took off. He kind of, and this was like one of his first directorial debuts, maybe his first one. I don't know if it's exactly his first one, but he was definitely early on in directing. And
Yeah, his directorial debut was Better Luck Tomorrow.
yeah,
Oh.
I think he made that as an indie film. I don't think it was produced by a studio. And that indie film is what got him noticed in the industry, and I think got him this opportunity. So this was the first studio-backed
Yeah.
movie I believe he did.
and
That's
he,
awesome.
he did it. We'll talk about it later, but love or hate this movie saved the Fast and Furious series, which is pretty cool. So,
And the next one ruined it.
the next one was rough. But you know what? That's next month. That's next month. We're not there yet. But where we are is here at Rusty's Car Museum, talking about Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and our special guest, Alan, first special guest ever for the Quarter Mile podcast,
Yeah.
has the honor of reading our AI hyperwrite plot summary about Tokyo Drift. So, Alan, the floor is yours.
Are you going to make every guest do this? I think you should. I think we should start the
That would
tradition
be
right
fun.
here.
I think
Yeah.
so.
The guest has to read
It
this.
has
I
to read
agree.
it. So.
Yeah.
This thing is amazing. Okay. Welcome back, gearheads and film buffs. Buckle up, because today we're drifting through the streets of Tokyo with the third installment of the Fast and Furious franchise, the Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Our story kicks off with Sean Boswell, a high school rebel with a need for speed and a habit of crashing not only cars, but also his social life. After one too many run-ins with the law back in the States,
I've crashed a lot of cars in social encounters. I feel like I can relate to that sentence.
Sean's sent to live with his dad in Tokyo. You know, because nothing says discipline like sending a car-crazy teen to the land of midnight drift races.
Right.
Tokyo's neon lights aren't just for show. Are y'all laughing at the AI thing or me?
Yes,
Yes.
both, yeah.
Tokyo's neon lights aren't just for show. They're the starting line for the city's underground drift racing scene. Sean quickly learns that in Tokyo, it's not about how fast you can go, but how smooth you can slide your car around the corners without kissing the guardrails. Oh, boy.
I don't like how.
That got oddly sensual.
Well, that's because this next sentence. Kissing should be saved for dates, not concrete, Sean. What? Enter the Drift King, DK for short, or Donkey Kong.
You forgot the accent. Or I thought Donkey Kong. I don't know. This is where we all need to do our best Lucas Black.
Oh, man, I can't even. I mean, I'm from Texas, and I can't get that. Yeah.
I thought Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong?
Donkey Kong.
I can't do it. Yeah.
Donkey
Okay.
Kong.
Who's not just the top dog in the racing world, but also has Yakuza ties. And let's not forget Neela, which we kind of did. The drift scene's queen and DK's girl, who catches Sean's eye
And
faster
sister.
than yeah, right, kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Who catches Sean's eye faster than a turbocharger spools up. As Sean drives headfirst in the world of drifting, he befriends Han, an expat racer with a zen-like approach to life and driving.
Yeah.
Han becomes Sean's mentor, helping him master the art of drifting. It all culminates in epic car battles where Sean must prove his worth or end up another wreck at the bottom of Tokyo's car pile. Where is this car pile
That's ominous.
in Tokyo? Yeah, like... So, will Sean conquer the curves and win the girl? I feel like those are the same statement. Or will he find himself a one-way trip to Crashville? You'll have to watch The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift to find out. But one thing's for sure, this movie takes the Fast and Furious series for a wild, sidewinding spin that'll leave you gripping your armrest like a steering wheel. What's with this outro? Stay tuned and remember, folks, keep your cars on the road and your podcast in your ears.
Yeah.
Wait.
Huh?
Wait, what?
What?
I don't
I'm
know. I
sorry.
don't know.
Was that a fragment?
No,
No, that's
what it says.
that's it. I think
This is fun. This AI
Yeah.
summary is
So-
fun. This was a good idea.
so. All that happens. It writes it as if you're like reading it on a podcast. I'll say like I'll write like write me a fun and relatable plot summary for my podcast for Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. And so last week it was like, "What's up, podcast pals?" Or like, it really tries to do the whole job for us. So
It sounds like a YouTube video, like from Watch
does.
Mojo or
Yeah.
Looper
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. I loved it.
Wow.
Thanks for letting me have the honor of
You know,
reading it.
thank you for doing that, Alan. You are setting the bar so high for any of our future guests.
Did anybody know what expat meant? I thought that was a
I have
typo. and
no
meant
idea.
Okay, so I'm glad I'm not the
No.
only one. And I'm not going to pretend that I actually knew. I actually had to look it up because I wanted to make sure what I was saying was right. Expat is short for expatriate, which is a word that describes a person who temporarily resides outside their country of citizenship, typically for work.
Okay, yeah.
But in this case, we learn later that Han has fled to Tokyo.
Yeah.
Actually, doesn't he say it in this movie that Tokyo is his like sunset, right off in the sunset?
it's interesting. He says,
Yeah.
because he's like, he says, you know, in the movie they get the girl. He's like, well, sometimes you don't get the girl. And he's like, he
Yeah.
fled or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting because before the rest of the movies, he definitely seems like he's related to the other movie, him and Justin Lin. What was the name of it?
Better Luck Tomorrow.
Better Luck Tomorrow. Like, it seems like this is like the second part of his character. Like, a lot of people
Yes.
say if you watch that movie and you see Han in that, and his name is literally Han in that movie, that
Yeah.
he is, it's like this is like a chiller, more mellow version of that character. Like, so like it kind of, it's not canon, but it kind of could be. But then,
Yeah, I think actually Justin Lin said he considers it canon.
Yeah,
as
like-
an actual canonical what's it called, backstory of Han. And what's interesting in Better Luck Tomorrow, I mean, he literally plays the same character.
Yeah.
He's like a criminal, right? Or becomes one in the movie, and he's a chain smoker in that movie. But do you know this? That they in the Fast and Furious franchise, there was someone decided, I'm not sure who made this decision, but they were like, yeah, we can't have him chain smoking. So they replaced the chain smoking with constant snack eating. And
that's what that was.
Yes, and it's almost like, well, that works because
Yeah.
if he quit smoking, then you would replace
you would
that with
still do
another
something,
habit.
Another
yeah.
habit.
I
And
like that.
specifically something with a mouth. People like chew gum or do something that because they're used to having a cigarette in it. So yeah, I thought that was a really clever tidbit.
Yeah.
That is really clever.
So what were our impressions? What do we think? What are some thoughts that come to mind for Tokyo Drift?
I mean, it wasn't a good nor bad movie.
It was
To
a
me.
movie.
To me, it was just, I don't know. Sometimes it seemed like it was a little bit slower than it being called a Fast and Furious movie. Because there were literally scenes where they had interjected slow-mo effects
Yeah.
into those scenes specifically
Yeah.
for slow-mo action, but not really much action going on. Like there wasn't much action going on until like the last 30 minutes of the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was that big last drift racing.
Yeah.
And then there was the first one, which was kind of early on in the movie where the first time he goes down and he sees, and that's when he wrecks the, he has a terrible.
But it was all about drifting. So
Yeah.
at least it stayed to its title.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, the first race. So I'm assuming Tabasco paid for that placement, so they
Yeah.
had to put that in there. They're like, "How are we going to put this in?" Oh, I know a way. But also, like in a song where you have your moments of the song that kind of dip low, and then it makes the explosion of the chorus or something even that more impactful. Some of those slow motion moments were that to me, specifically the Tabasco shot. I thought that was kind of cool. And then he finishes the roll. I was like, oh, you're jarred back into it, right? I bet that's almost like what having a car crash is like when you're in that specific scenario.
Yeah.
You can probably tell us. I don't know.
yeah. I've wrecked and rolled a lot of cars.
Yeah. Is it like, does everything slow down to you, or does it happen so fast?
It happens so fast, but then like right after it, you're kind of like the shock of it all. Like I remember I had a big wreck one time where I ended up spinning and then rolling off a bridge and down a hill and landing upside down. And just like Vin Diesel, I walked out of it unharmed. But I remember the wreck part happened so quickly. But then once I was there, I was so it's so weird. But I was like in shock. And the one thing I was thinking about was like, where's my cell phone? My car was literally about to explode. Like I got out before it did. But
it felt like 2 hours searching for your phone. It was literally like
just
2 minutes.
a few minutes. Yeah, because people came up afterwards and helped me get out. But it was weird.
Wow.
So don't get in car wrecks, people. That's a good PSA.
right.
And the
purposely.
the drifting scene through Tokyo, where they split the crowd.
Yes,
I think the slow motion worked there. That was like a really cool moment.
That's the best scene.
Or is it even in slow motion? Or is it kind of real time?
A
little slow, maybe?
So it was speedy, and then it had like that.
Yeah.
And then it went to like the slow motion to
Of
where
them
like the
going through the
girl was
crowd.
like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," and then they didn't hit the the people.
Yeah.
So then it sped right back up.
Which I thought that was a creative way for us, the audience, to see how much better Sean had gotten at driving.
Yeah.
Because like what the kind of the pretext behind that is, I mean, I know it's a Fast and Furious movie, and like the odds of that happening exactly like that would be impossible. But like the idea is like he is so good at drifting at that point that he did not hit a single bystander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you compare that to the first race.
Yeah, the first several races that he was in the film.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I
and
think-
all the practicing he did. And he kept hitting the trash cans.
Kept hitting everything.
So here's my thing about this movie. I decided at this rewatch that I hate this movie way less than I thought I did. I did a lot of soul searching and self discovery as to why I'm so bothered by this movie. The good thing I'll say about it is the character development. Up until now with Fast and Furious, we haven't seen like any strong character development.
No.
I would argue that Fast and
maybe.
Furious 1 and 2, like when you put them together, you see Paul Walker's character
Yeah.
development, both as an actor and as Brian O'Connor.
Yeah.
But separately, there's no like growth of the character from the beginning of the one movie to the end, except in this one, we see huge character development with Sean's character. And so what I realized in this rewatch is the reason I've had so many problems with this movie all comes down to the cold opening. I hate the first, 10 minutes of that movie because at that point, I hate every single character that's been introduced. I'll paint the picture for you all.
I'm with you.
But it opens in some random school in Alabama that is either really ritzy because there's fancy cars or it's really poor because they have metal detectors. And then you get you see Sean's character and he is just so unlikable like at that point, which is what he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then you meet Brad from Home Improvement is his rival from
Clay.
the quarterback.
Yeah.
And they're a tough guy talking their cars. And then what's her name? Sandy?
Cindy.
Cindy. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
She is the real villain of this movie. I don't care what anyone says.
I think Cindy and Clay combined.
Oh my
They're
god.
actually, you want to talk about character development? there's more character development in Clay in the first 6 minutes of the movie than there probably is any main character of the first two movies.
Yeah,
Honestly.
because he realized I should not be with this woman. Man. Oh my gosh. The things where she's like, you guys can race over me. It's like that. First of all, as a former youth pastor, I don't want any high school girl ever saying, like, I was broken for her. Like, I was like, what?
She threatens him while they're going speedy in a construction site.
Guess I
And
got a
she's
new
like,
date
well,
for
I guess I
prom.
got a new date for prom.
Yeah.
And then he goes, haywire and starts hitting this guy's car. She's like, stop it. And I'm like, well, you're an idiot.
Right? You should have been
just
like, you
fanned the
do have a
flames.
good date. You go get a new date. We're broken up. That's what he should have said.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. I was like, that was that moment where he tears up and like goes through that. It's like
poor
that's
guy.
such great. That's
Yeah.
such great character development, I think. But yeah, bro should have been right there and been like, "Oh, really? Okay, I'm done," and just stopped the car
Yeah.
and left.
Did you
Yeah.
think about the homeowners when he wrecked through that?
all the
I immediately,
places.
actually,
Like,
I turned to
especially-
Rachel. I was like, this is not going well. They're going to be so upset. They just destroyed so many homes.
There was a point when they all wrecked because at that point I didn't like Sean yet. I really didn't like those characters.
I didn't
And
like any of 'em.
This happens every time I watch this movie, and I can't explain it because it's really terrible. But there's a point when they all wreck where a little part of my brain, even though I've seen the movie at least 9 times, I think I hope they're all dead. I hope. Let's move on to some new characters. And
Reset.
And
Yeah,
so
let's start a whole new movie.
They said, just kidding.
So we're gonna take the third Fast and Furious movie. We're gonna put all new characters in it, and then we're gonna kill them off in the first 6 minutes and start again.
Yeah. Yeah, I would have been okay with it. At least it was the first. Anyway, but then I realized in this watch through that is part of the storytelling device to let you know where Sean was at as a person versus where we see him at the end of the movie.
And why he got sent to Tokyo.
Absolutely.
And also to be to juxtapose the environment, from America
Very
to Tokyo.
different.
Yeah.
Showing that first 6 minutes is like, and even the racing in that first 6 minutes, the housing development, which is this big housing development with houses that are, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 feet apart,
I feel
and
so
then he's
bad
in
for them.
Tokyo and he opens the window and there's a lady right,
Yeah.
it's really like
Yeah.
everything that happens in that first 6 minutes is flipped on its lid 2 minutes later.
Yeah, a lot of people, like myself included, in previous conversations will bash that first scene for being so terrible, but
Yeah.
it really is good at what it's doing, which is setting up how you feel for the rest of the movie.
And that's why you bash it, because you don't realize what it's doing until you. I'm curious, as you do these podcast episodes, do you look at these movies with different lenses now that you're watching it
Oh, yeah.
to then talk
Yeah.
about it?
Yeah.
And I was going to
Absolutely.
say, I bet it's a little bit different experience.
Almost treating these movies like I'm an anthropologist. It's like, what is the cultural development here?
It's interesting watching my 16-year-old son watch these movies for the first time. The moments he gets excited about,
Yeah.
because I get to watch him go, or
I love
verbally
that.
and audibly react to moments in the film that I know are coming up. So I'm like, but in a way where he doesn't see I'm
Yeah.
watching him, and that has opened my eyes to
That's so cool.
some impactful moments like that, like the first 6-10 minutes of this movie, that I didn't realize what it was doing to me as a viewer when I watched it until I watched him watch
Right.
that race. And it was like, and I didn't realize the range of emotions you go through as a viewer watching this
Right.
race. So I thought
Exactly.
it was really cool. I thought some of the stuff was kind of rushed, like when Neela shows up at the garage and she's just like there. I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Why are you here?
happened? Yeah, like what, I feel like there's a deleted scene somewhere I missed. But the race in which Han perishes apparently, and then the final race, those were some really cool moments. And there's a lot of little details in there that I think I didn't realize the first time, and also didn't realize maybe the impact of Han's death or the
Right.
crash until like my son was like, what? Because that explosion happens
Yeah.
very abruptly. Like there's
Yeah.
no precursor to it happening. It just boom, and he like literally jumped and was like, no, because
Yeah.
like that's his favorite character, right?
Yeah, the
You-
rest of
you get
us
to know
knows what
him.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But he was, in that movie, he was dead.
He was
Like,
dead.
When they did that
Dead.
scene, they were
Yeah.
like, this is it. This is where he dies. And the conversation that brought him back was once Justin Lin was directing more, and he was talking to the actors. What's his name?
Sang.
No,
I can't
I have
remember his
it.
name.
I literally have it written down here. Sung Kang. When he was
Yeah.
talking to Sung, he was like, "Man, sorry, man. You did so great. People loved you. But you died." And then all this guy said, which is true Han's fashion. He was
Yeah.
like, "But did I?"
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the director's like, you know what? You're right. This is a fun series. Let's just bring it back, and maybe viewers won't care that much and won't ask too many questions.
Right.
And us Fast and Furious people, if there's one thing that we don't do, it's ask questions.
No.
Yeah.
No, we theorize, but like at the same time, we know what these are.
Yeah.
These are
absolutely.
fun movies that you suspend your disbelief and you go get away from the world for a little bit and have fun and watch some people do some things that you should not do.
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
Action, adventure,
Yeah.
crime, girls.
And
Cars.
it's funny that it's
All the
become
best
this.
things.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny that it's become this family thing,
Yeah.
right? Because the cast has literally become a group of characters that you were really invested in as a
Yeah.
viewer.
Right.
And those characters that they hooked me. man.
Absolutely.
And the cars. I think the cars are characters in the first three movies.
First three. They
I
veer
mean,
away
look how
from that.
flashy this is. You
Yeah.
know, like that is a character in and of itself, and it was almost an extension of each character.
We saw that in the third one with Twinkie's Hulk car.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Absolutely.
loved it.
Yeah.
We should. Did we ever see that in like a race or did it do anything other
We
than look
saw
cool?
no, we saw it
I
just for
mean,
that one scene
yeah.
where they went to the garage,
It
and that
was
was
just
it.
drifting around is the
Oh,
only
wait.
thing I think we
You
saw.
do see it
mainly.
again when later in the movie when he pulls the money out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it. When he picks up Sean,
Which I remember making a note about that when I watched it. Like it's such a cool sentimental moment when he was like, Han would have wanted you to have this.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes you overlook the fact that the bro just stole tons of money that wasn't his, and maybe he wasn't originally gonna get. Like you always
Yeah.
wonder, he's always making money somehow. So at one point he's like, I'm gonna take this money, and then he probably thought like, oh, I should probably give it to Sean.
Yeah.
but also like that sound system must have sound terrible with that stack of cash inside the subwoofer box.
I actually
muffling.
brought that up as well when I was watching
It was
it.
like, and he didn't even, it wasn't even bolted in. Like it was
Yeah.
a fake subwoofer because he just like popped and it was out. It wasn't screwed in or
Boom.
nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Man, that must have been a weird drive.
you know
over.
what though?
Pimp my
Knowing
ride.
Twinkie's character, he would have a fake sound system in the back of his car so that he could hide some Air Jordans.
Oh,
and stuff
absolutely.
like
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It probably wasn't. Yeah,
that makes sense.
That
now that I
makes
think about it.
that makes sense. So, one of the things talking about characters in the movie, we let's talk about Neela. Is that what we're going to call her? Is that her name? Okay,
I
so
think it's Neela.
first of all, what a weird backstory. So,
Confusing.
if you correct me if I'm wrong, which I might be, you learn that her mom was a prostitute that was like the gangsters, like DK's,
Get around.
Yeah, like his uncle's favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
So when she died, he took in his favorite prostitute's daughter
Mm-hmm.
as one of his own, and then raised her up. And so she she was several years younger than DK. This is a reoccurring theme in Fast and Furious, unfortunately. He was an adult, she was not. So DK is kind of dating his foster sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone's on board with it. Like
Yeah.
no one's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's
Oh,
weird.
I don't think everyone's on board with it, but like,
I mean, in the movie, did anyone be like, also maybe don't do that?
I think Sean said it without saying it. Like
But he was into her. It was the classic, like, we're
Right.
fighting over the same girlfriend, not the classic, we're fighting over the same girlfriend. It's
yeah,
also
if,
your
if
sister.
it was real life, he would have been like, yeah, bro, she's your sister. Let me win.
Also, how progressive is it that the guy from Alabama was the one who wasn't a fan?
Wow. That's getting cut. Yeah.
Please don't.
The thing to me is that they say that Sean says, where are you from? And she says here.
Mm-hmm.
And when she says here, she says it with an Australian accent. Literally, that word is one of those words that's very, that brings that accent out, right? And as the backstory continues, when DK's talking to her and he says, oh yeah, my father or whatever said you were the greatest
Army
trick
brat
in Tokyo. I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
So
Yeah.
creepy.
and you're dating her
Yeah.
daughter? Like, I'm not sure that was
Yeah.
a good move. But it's the whole thing is like, if she was raised by Yakuza in Japan, why does she have an Australian accent?
Right.
Like, at what point
Yeah.
did she move? and like.
Well, they
it's all
mentioned
very
she was an
confusing.
army brat as well, though.
No, I don't think they did.
I think that's what he was trying to say.
Yeah, he assumed she was an army
And then
brat.
she just didn't comment on
Yeah,
it.
she could have been a little bit more forthcoming when he's just like, "Hey,
Yeah.
where are
He's
you
like,
from?"
I'll tell you where you're from. I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah,
Well,
leave it to a man to tell the woman.
She's very
mansplain.
mysterious throughout the whole movie, and I think that's part of the allure of her and kind of her character. That she's doesn't ever give away too much, but also it could just be because the writers were like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly.
I just
There
think
is no
it's weird
backstory.
that it was probably the same writer that was like, yeah, let's beat up a Mexican Indian. That was like, here's an idea for a backstory. What
Right.
if? And they're like, Sam, we need to get you help, man. I don't know if his name's Sam, but it sounds like a Sam move. I don't know.
Somebody
funny.
took one too many cold pills.
The whole movie is about outsiders.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're watching it, you think that that's Han, potentially, obviously Sean, obviously Neela, obviously Twinkie. And by the end, I feel like that DK
Yes.
is actually the outsider in the whole film, especially that group.
That was kind of my next question. Like, how do we feel about him as a villain or as a character? Like, did you feel for him by the end of the movie? Did you like the whole movie just not like him or whatever?
No, he was just a punk the whole movie.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
you really want to punch in the face. And I
Mainly.
would have done that way before I would have agreed to a drift race. No.
Yeah.
Especially after the dude punched you.
Yeah.
You know, or yeah, DK punched
Yeah,
Sean.
Sean let himself get beat up there.
Fishing dock.
But that also, I think, that was showing us a little bit of his character development. So he knew
He held back.
He knew that he was
Well, he's-
canoodling with his
Right.
girlfriend / sister.
Also, he's not trying to he wants to worry about himself
Yeah.
and not get all the people standing around in trouble too, because he knows if he fought back, that DK's goons would have jumped in as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would have put Han and Twinkie and everybody having to jump in to save Sean.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? I'm
But
just gonna eat these because I did it. I did it.
I was so happy though after Han died and they got and he did go over and punch him at that point you've built so much resentment towards his character that you're like, yeah, get him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get him, Bama boy.
Yeah, they did a real
boy.
good job of making this villain in this movie unlikable.
Yeah.
But there's no arc. There's no reason to root for him. There's no feeling sorry for him. Like, again, I think the story arc and the character arc of Clay in the beginning.
Yeah.
You actually feel for him when he's tearing up and he's about to crash his car with his girl.
He's just a
being
stupid high school boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and then DK is supposed to be out of high school. He's an adult and he just running. He thinks he's playing gangster in his little. What does Han say? He's playing gangster
Yeah,
in his
absolutely.
storage room.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why ultimately I think he's the outsider
Yeah,
in the movie.
he is absolutely, and that's just
And he gets
interesting that they're
ousted,
all,
literally, from the city
Yeah,
at the end of the movie.
I want to know what happens to him. Like maybe he'll come back in Fast 11.
Right? To be in America. I also want to know what happens if he just where did he go?
Yeah,
And if he just waltzes back into Tokyo for a business meeting or go to McDonald's or something, does he get shot on
the
sight?
Tokyo Mafia gets him. That's not a mean statement. They're literally the gangsters
I
in
mean,
the
that's
movie.
true.
Yakuza.
That's true.
So I didn't know.
Well, they
what-
say
That's
that.
true.
They say that in the movie.
Yeah.
It's like the mafia in
Yeah.
Tokyo,
Yeah.
in Japan.
Yeah. This is the first time the word is family used. The word family is used to describe Dom's crew. And this is at the very end of the movie when we get a Vin Diesel cameo. And they're like, how'd you know Han? And he was like, he was part of the family. Say what you will about Tokyo Drift. This is the first time we have it to thank for the family memes for Fast and Furious. So this is maybe one of my favorite Tokyo Drift facts. This is the thing that I've been telling people all month when the topic of Tokyo Drift comes up. During the movie, there's a scene that wasn't given a permit, and it was that really cool drift scene where with the slow motion or whatever, where they managed to not hit a single person with their cars. How impressive that in real life. And so then they didn't have a permit, and since it was highly illegal to do it without a permit, they actually hired a fake director to be the guy that when the police came and said, who's director? They brought up the fake director, and he actually had to spend a night in jail
Oh my gosh.
And it was all part of their plan because they knew that after, when they were talking to the guy, they gave him about 20 more minutes to finish the scene and stuff like that. And as a thank you, they later let the man do a cameo in like that sauna scene with the big fat guy with the paw
Bear
on his.
claw.
Yeah. And so and I couldn't figure out which one he was, but like when you look at the line of different men in the sauna, one of them is the fake guy who is hired to go to jail for the director.
That's awesome.
Right? Like,
Good for him.
so yeah. Do you think that the one scene in the movie was a big enough thank you for a night in jail? Like, I don't know. Would you do that? Would you would you go to jail for a night to be in a scene in Fast and Furious?
I think wasn't he also like a crew member? Like he was getting paid to be
I was
on
about to
the
say
movie.
he probably got paid for that cameo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Good to know.
Big movie.
And then this is another really interesting fact about this movie. Very important just with overall Fast and Furious knowledge. So Vin Diesel agreed to do a cameo as Dom Toretto in the film's closing moment as part of a trade-off with Universal Studios to get the rights to Pitch Black and his Riddick character. Because that was his main thing. Like, that was what he wanted to get. That was his big thing. But then he also added to it, he wanted a producer role for any other Fast and Furious movies. And so by doing that little cameo, which at the time they didn't know whether it was going to really go into a Fast and Furious 4, they're just like, it'd be fun to give it like a suggestion. By agreeing to do that, he got himself in the leadership of the putting together the movies. And then a lot of his vision along with Justin Lin is what kept the movies going. So it was just, and it was such like a side thing. He was just like, well, I guess I'll do it if you give me a producer credit.
Yeah,
in the next
because
few minutes.
up until this one, he'd only done one. He just did the first one.
Yeah.
And he was thinking that Riddick, was going to be his franchise, his shining star. So that's why he wanted the rights to that.
Yeah.
That's interesting that how it ended up working out, and he shifted to
So
pretty much being Dominic Toretto for the
Yeah.
rest of his career.
people, like, even when they interview him, sometimes call him Dom instead of Vin. He just answers. He just goes. You kind of have to at that point. But I have a hard time telling the difference between them. I do it with Brian O'Connor and Paul Walker all the time.
Likewise.
They're the same person to me. So, but yeah, those are just kind of interesting facts. And now, the reason everyone's listening to this podcast, this particular episode, is they want to know who's the bigger Fast and Furious fan, myself or Alan. And I think it's time we put all the questions to rest. I think it's time we figure it out. So, Bailey, what you got for us?
All right. I got my Pokemon diary journal notebook I got at Books A Million. It's beautiful.
Perfect.
I'm sure y'all can see it. But y'all are not allowed to look over here.
Oh,
Okay.
So this
We've
quiz
got
is
to
going
face
to
off
be
like a UFC fight.
it's only going to be short answers. There's no multiple question because if you're apparently a fan of something, then you should know.
Oh, okay.
You shouldn't have the choice.
Now I feel like
on your
she's
face.
throwing shade at us too.
Right. I'm a fan, but I have bad memory, okay?
I do too. Suck it up. All right. So
Get it?
so how are we going to do this? So when I ask the question, I guess I can, do like a countdown after I ask it.
Okay.
And, ask if y'all have y'all's answers. And then I'll be like, 3, 2, 1, give me your answer if you want to do that. Or do you want to, because if I do one at a time, I don't want somebody to give me the right answer. Then the other person be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah,
you
3,
want.
2, 1's great because we literally have 3 seconds to come up with an answer.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
we don't know, we're just like, yeah, I
Then
don't
we're
know.
not real fans if we don't know.
That's right.
Okay.
I'm so terrified that I'm not going to know, but
Me,
that's okay.
me too.
So you only want 3 seconds to figure it out?
3, 5, I don't know.
Okay.
I live my life a
we'll-
quarter mile
we'll
at a
just see
time.
how
I
this
only
goes.
need those 3
I
seconds.
feel like if we don't know it in 3 seconds,
We just don't
we're
know
not getting it. Yeah.
Okay, so question number 1. What does Twinkie's character hand Sean when they are entering into the first race into the garage right before they get there? And he says something
Kleenex.
very, very off the wall, inappropriate. Almost.
He does.
It was like in a window.
I know it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You want a few seconds?
I do not know it.
All
so-
right.
He
3, 2,
okay.
1.
He hands him a box of Kleenex and says, it's for when you blow your wallet.
That's right. That's right. I did not know it, but now I remember it. So.
Yeah. As soon as that happened, I was like, that's a question
Yeah.
right
That's
there.
a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good one.
Question number 2. What does gajin mean?
I got it.
Yeah, me too.
3, 2, 1.
Outsider.
Yeah. All right. So that's tied. So you got 1. You got 2. You got 1. All right. And then 3.
What color is the first car he races in? The very first car in the very first scene when he's in America still.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
You ready? 3, 2, 1.
White.
Primer.
What did you say?
Primer. It's a paint primer. It's like a light gray tan color.
Yeah, 10.
Okay. I like how you're like, yes, tan, that's a color.
Okay, cool.
That was a very
That's
good answer.
That
though.
is you put a base primer on that's
Yeah.
like not shiny.
Yeah.
And then that makes it stick to the car, and then you put the paint on top of that, and then put the clear coat.
Yeah.
I mean, that was my next answer.
Obviously.
So I don't even know if you want a tiebreaker or not, because technically Alan.
I know, but let's keep
Let's do
going.
it.
Let's
do the
keep
tiebreaker.
doing it, yeah.
This is the easiest, actually. I did the tiebreaker so that y'all could do it the quickest. So
okay.
as soon as I say the question, please answer as soon as possible.
Okay.
Who was the one that showed up at the end of the movie?
Vin Diesel, Dominic Toretto, boom. Worth
Got
3
extra
points.
point.
I went.
Y'all are probably tied at that last question, technically, but I think Alan might have won.
I think we'll give that one to Alan because I definitely I would have said tan and not primer, and I think you should get a bonus point for saying for
What
what
it
it
actually
actually
was.
was.
Yeah.
You would have been right though. It was tan.
I did say tan, but you said white.
I did, yeah.
So-
which I mean, you could argue to a colorblind person with a speck in their eye at in a dimly lit room.
No visor in their car.
Maybe
so
if
no.
they have cataracts
Yeah,
going on.
I could argue that a hot dog is a sandwich, but
You'd be wrong.
I knew I was going to win from the get go, right? I mean, obviously, I said it in the email.
Yeah.
And in our correspondence later. in
he
the
had
email.
Yes,
to own up
that's
to what he
true.
was saying.
Yeah,
so.
he
But
did.
my
I'll give it
thing
to you.
is, I'm curious, and this is not a slight. I'm just really curious. You're not a car guy,
I'm not.
but you really, really, really enjoy these movies, like actually.
Yeah. Do you want to know? Do you want to know
I'm
why?
curious about that, yeah.
It's a good. It's a weird answer.
Because I
but it's a
don't
good
know
answer.
if I wasn't a car guy, if I would be as into these movies as I am.
I mean,
Yeah, I understand that,
I
actually.
I liked the races. I liked the cars. I liked the cool stuff of it too. But the big thing for me for the Fast and Furious, we talked about this a little bit, but like the motif of your family that's not related to you. Like I love when you see how close they get as a community. That's always been a big thing. Like my friends have been like my family, and like every time in the later movies when you see like that barbecue scene at the end of the movie, like,
Yeah.
I envision someday when I have like a really nice house or whatever that like I'm doing that with my friends. Like they're
Exactly.
and
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
It is
Just
the
to
goal.
have a
So, yeah.
swimming pool barbecue party with the people that you love the most.
Who touches their food first has to pray. That's gonna be
And pray to the car gods. Man, that sounds so cool. The next time the next movie comes out, I'm gonna have to go with you guys. You guys,
do it.
how do we make that happen? Are you doing it in Nashville?
We'll figure it out. We'll
We
just
can
Man,
do it
I'll-
in Nashville.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll,
fine
I'll,
going to
I'll
Nashville.
come to Nashville.
You said
We'll
it's
do it, so.
Easter, right?
Honestly.
Yeah, it's usually
Typically?
a Easter, and it won't be this year, but probably next
Okay,
year.
good.
If it's warm weather, I'll put the top down on the car and I'll make that 2-hour trip to
Oh, yeah,
Nashville
let's do it.
for a
So-
Fast and Furious movie.
Let's do it.
That would be a cool
Oh my
experience.
That'd be a
gosh.
fun marathon.
That'd be
I always call it. I tell my friends it's like a Super Bowl party, but we're actually watching something that's good.
Yeah.
Because we
Something I
do
can enjoy.
we do all the other things like the snacks and the go
Exactly.
crazy, but like
Get some wings.
oh yeah, of course,
Yeah.
boneless wings for sure.
They're easier to
Yeah,
eat.
right.
Yeah.
I'm lazy.
More chicken.
Grown up chicken nuggets.
Yes. Hey, no one complains about chicken nuggets. They're the
Staple.
Well, that was a good quiz. That
Yeah.
was I accept defeat.
Thank
you
you.
are the bigger Fast and Furious fan. You also drive cooler cars than me, and you're just a better person. And I'd accept.
don't know about that.
If anything else, this podcast interview has led us.
Yeah.
To, okay, so Bailey's best bits. For those of
Yeah.
you that this is your first time with us, here's the way it works. Bailey picks 3 scenes in the movie. That are her best. Now, here's the thing. She qualifies
You look so
what the
excited.
best
Yeah.
is. So in our first episode, she did like her favorite scenes of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
In the second episode, she did funniest scenes to her. So we don't know what her qualification is, except we actually do because she told
I
us at
told
the
you, actually.
So these are
It's the cringiest moments.
cringiest moments in Tokyo Drift. So here's the way it's going to work. Since we have a guest, this is so we already had to settle our conflict, and it's settled. We're good. Our beef has
good.
been squashed.
We're family now.
Me and Bailey, we're family.
You
Now.
were the villain that now has become an ally.
Yeah, I hate when that happens in those
Allies.
stories. But I'll accept.
Or
winning
maybe
that.
I am. I don't know. Am I the villain that becomes the ally? I am the guest. I
We're all
guess
the
I'm-
hero in our own story.
There
I think
we go.
we're but in this case, me and Bailey are currently tied 1-1. And then since we have an extra person, you're going to be on my team. So she's going to give us her 3 scenes. And then we're going to both pick what we think is her best, cringiest moment of the movie. Now,
I literally am the villain that's now become.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. You're Cypher or Jason Statham or DK doesn't come back, so not him.
No.
So if either of us get a point, it goes to my score. And then which neither one of us will be mistaken, but if either one of us don't get it, Bailey gets a point. So this is a special 2-point episode. So.
Yeah, this is like a bonus round because like even
We're
if you're like I don't know, and I get it, it saves you.
It saves me, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah,
like
but also this
especially
is
how condescending she was.
So you're the
At the
savior.
beginning of the at the beginning of the quiz. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's defeat her.
So give
Let's
us
win.
the scenes, Bailey.
All
We're
right.
ready.
So the first race, where it's not actually the first race, but it's the first race in Tokyo, actually, wherever he destroys his car while attempting and drifting. So where he's constantly like, duh,
Okay.
duh,
Yeah.
duh.
Yeah.
So there's that. That's the first scene. The second scene, the scene where Sean and Neela are drifting on, I believe it's the mountain
Yeah.
that he was later on.
Well, a
And
mountain,
that
not
entire
mountains.
scene for about 3 to 4 minutes was just slow-mo and senseless talking. And then you've
Careful,
got...
she likes to mess with us. So
Yeah.
don't.
Then you've
Oh,
got
I noticed that in the last episode. She got you.
DK's slow-mo car wreck scene. I guess they're all just slow-mo stuff. That's really getting on my nerves.
She hates slow-mo.
Okay. Yes.
It's the,
All right,
it's the
fair
way
enough.
that they put this in here, because that slow-mo with them, before the crowd, before they hit the crowd, that was impressive. But there's certain ones,
Yeah.
So the slow-mo scene where DK had literally fallen off the cliff where we had seen him at the top fall,
Yeah.
and then, Sean had like sped up further down, and then he's like right here. He's like, and then he go, boom. So it's like you could see
Yeah.
his stupid face before he hits the ground.
He does have a
I
stupid.
don't,
He has a
I
very
don't
punchable
understand.
face.
His
eyes.
face is so punchable.
Yeah. All right. Like in so many scenes. Yeah.
So I'll put away my Pokemon journal.
Gotta catch them all.
Y'all will get to figure this out.
Would you like
So-
to go first, Alan?
So
or
which one is the cringiest one? That's
Yeah,
what we're
which-
guessing.
which one is
Out
the
of those.
cringiest scene?
To
Was
her.
it the slow-mo first race in Tokyo? Was it the... Shoot, I already forgot.
We should get a point for that, right?
Right? No, I think she's messing with us. I think she
The
knows.
scene where Sean and the girl are drifting, or the scene where DK is dying and
Okay,
gets kicked out.
I'm gonna say the scene where Neela and Sean are drifting. Is that what you're feeling?
I'm feeling that one too.
Okay, so here's the deal. Is this the rules? If you get it right and I get it right, that's 2 points for him, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And if we both get it wrong, then she gets 2 points. And I already know with her facial reaction we got it
Okay,
right because she
okay.
doesn't want to admit
Okay, so
that
here's the
she's
thing,
about
though.
to
But
be
here's the thing:
lost
do we need to?
3-1?
I watch a lot of the challenge on MTV.
Yeah.
You got to think strategically here. Do we need to pick a different answer so that
I'm
we?
I'm
I
confident.
mean, do I need to pick a different one from you to give us a better chance at one of us
help.
getting it right? This is my survivor big brother coming
so
out.
I appreciate your concern. I'm going to leave that up to you with what you do. I'm sticking with number 2, so I'm very confident it's number 2 because out of the 3 scenes, that to me was the only one worth cringe.
Right.
But if you want to be considerate, you can pick a different scene. But please,
I feel like that's the one though.
it has to be. The other scenes were not that bad.
But I'm also here's what I'm concerned about. Bailey's a smart cookie. She's a special unit.
Yeah.
And she tricked you last time, and I think she expects you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I've
Final answer.
my entire
Who
life
wants to be a
I've
millionaire?
gone with a guy.
Number 2. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with number
Yeah.
2.
Me too.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we're right. That's right. Awesome teamwork.
I mean,
makes
I
the dream
can't
work.
just try to do the exact same thing that I did last time, anyways, to try to,
Wasn't
mess
it
you
number
up
2
and stuff.
last time too? Was that the middle option?
I don't
I don't
remember.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch now. If it's been the middle option
Thank
every
you for
time.
knowing our podcast better than we do. Maybe that's what she's
I'm
like.
back
For
to the
10
villain.
episodes, I'm just doing the middle. So, okay. So let's talk about our rankings of these movies. So the 2 things that we do is we talk about the villains and then we talk about the movie overall. And Bailey, I think this is when we're gonna deviate. I think so far
Yeah.
we've been on
Always.
exactly the
I
same
think
track.
so.
But I think this is when our 2 paths that
Yeah.
were driving go in separate ways. So, Alan, would you like to start by telling us, in consideration to the third movie, the second, and the first movie, how would you rank the villains, and then how would you rank the movies overall?
Okay, so the villains, I definitely agree with you guys last time that
Because we're right. I appreciate that.
Yeah. What's Carter? Carter Verone is a despicable, devious,
Yes.
terrible person.
Definitely.
And so well played. He is definitely a hideous human being. He'd be number one at the top of the list of these three. And then I would put Clay as number two. No, Cindy. I think that I would put DK a little over Johnny Tran.
Okay.
Who you keep calling Danny Tran.
Okay, here's the story behind that. I have a friend named Danny Tran, who's a comedian. And
I was going to say, I remember hearing that name, and I think I know who that is now. I'm like, why does that sound familiar, but also so wrong?
As soon as I said that, I sent him a message like, hey, I didn't mean to call you a villain.
It's free promo.
Yeah, there we go. But anyway, so no, I actually, on the way here, I was like, okay, it's Johnny Tran. But
So, do you want to know my movie listings, or do you
Yeah,
guys
go for
want to
it.
do your
Go for it.
villains
Go
first?
ahead.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So Tokyo Drift is number one for me, and I think Too Fast, Too Furious is number two, and then the first one is, if I rank it as far as like my favorite movie, the first one would be last of these three. Because it's okay. I rewatched it with my kids 2 weeks ago and was like, oh, I forgot. I didn't realize how bad this movie was.
Yeah.
You know, but my son was still enjoying it, and I saw myself in him because I watched it for the first time when I was about his age. But if we're ranking it in terms of like importance and stuff, obviously the first one, we wouldn't have any of the rest of them.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that makes sense.
all of these have had such a tremendous impact on car culture and car shows and racing that I think a lot of people are down for and understand. And there's a whole community of people that are like upset that that's what has
Right.
exploded car culture in the last 20 years. But you can't deny that it hasn't had a
kinda
played a
It's
big
cool.
fun
part.
though.
Yeah, and it was when they made the first one. That was their original intention. Was he read Race Wars or Racer X,
Racer X.
Racer X,
Yeah.
and he was like, I want to bring awareness to this community.
By the way, my son pointed out that Race Wars was a terrible name. And the first time they said it, he looked
There
at
you
me.
go.
He looked
Yeah.
at me and was like, "Dad, what are we watching? What's?" I was like, "No. This is like 2001, bro. So
Yeah.
calm down. This is." He means like a wars where you race and stuff. It's like, oh, okay.
It's funny because that was actually Bailey's first suggestion for the name of this podcast. So
Shut up.
Wait, was it really, or is that a joke?
no, it's a
Okay.
joke. It's a
Come
joke.
on.
I'm sorry.
Come on. Really?
That was a joke, Bailey.
Whatever. Just recommends me to these, film people. Put Bailey in your movie. No, let's assume she thinks of this terrible idea.
He didn't tell you which films he was recommending you for.
Yeah. Let's put me in the Killer Winnie the Pooh movie.
Part two,
Part 2.
Mickey Mouse movie.
I'm short enough.
So Bailey, what are your villain? And
Yeah, I'm actually curious. I feel
movie
like
rankings.
I feel like having a guest on the show that I have trumped. Now you haven't talked as much, and I've kind of.
That's fine.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
I
So-
feel like I've talked too much and not let you talk, which I'm doing right now. So I'll let you talk.
They'll be able to catch up on me. I think I like the Too Fast, Too Furious is my first choice. So it's 2, 3, and then 1.
Okay.
So technically, it would probably be based off of like soundtrack, the funny ha-has,
Too Fast, Too Furious was definitely a lot funnier.
the cars, the type of action, but also like the cinema, like the way that it looks and just like the overall vibes of the movie. Because Tokyo
Yeah.
Drift, I could probably just sit there on my couch and drink wine and watch it and be chill. And
Sounds like a great, like, Saturday.
It's almost like a nice little scenery looking movie, You
Yeah.
could just put it on in the background, mute it, and it just looks pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a photo or like
Yeah.
one of those just wall displays.
Like
that
when
just
your
has
TV
images.
goes to the
Yeah,
screensaver and it's like
Yeah.
that metropolitan area or like a cityscape or like a
Yeah.
beach or whatever. Like
With the
that's
soundtrack,
Tokyo
too?
Drift.
Yeah, I feel
And
that.
the Tokyo
Oh,
Drift
yeah.
soundtrack, and also the soundtrack in Tokyo Drift reminds me of like the computer games I used to play when I was a kid, like those fighting computer games,
Yep.
like those stick figure fighting computer games that they would have like that in the background that you had no idea who it was. That's exactly where Tokyo Drift got that, or something, or they got that from Tokyo Drift. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was.
I'm
that's about
curious
level.
what which movie you think is funnier, Tokyo Drift or Too Fast or Furious?
Too Fast, Too Furious, most likely.
Yeah, I think there was more humor in that one than any of the other. Three
Yeah.
I think
franchises.
it's because that one had Tyrese. I mean, he brings humor to the series. I feel like. I mean,
yeah,
like,
and Ludacris.
probably good writing too. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, almost like he gets to the point when he comes into movies, like almost everything he says has me laughing.
It's
Yeah.
comical relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
but
mean,
the
this
cast is so
villain-
much bigger in the rest of the movies that it's
Yeah.
I got you.
I didn't think this villain was really amounting to anything to me either. So
Yeah.
I kind of put him. He's probably tied with the first villain.
Okay.
Honestly.
So are we gonna do ties, or are we gonna be like make a claim? 'Cause-
I don't know. I don't know if I can make a claim right now with that because he just didn't do anything.
Okay.
So basically, her bottom two.
Bottom
he
two
really
are
is.
the-
They
or
both
filled
did
with
about the
this guy.
same
Yeah.
crap.
Absolutely,
You know,
yeah.
Like they both were like, "Oh, I'm upset because you did something with a girl, and I'm gonna punch you."
Yeah.
and then that's it.
Yeah.
What does that say about the movie? Sorry, Drew. What does that say about the movie that the villains aren't that good, but the movie's still good? Like, is the heroes or the action just
Because
that
it's
much
not
better?
about the villain, I guess.
They're
It's
just a
about
plot
the
device?
action. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just to give a little bit more of a storyline to maybe further it out. Because if you didn't have a villain, then you don't have a continuation of a storyline, most
Yeah.
likely.
You
It's
always
like,
need
what
a
are you doing
conflict.
now? I'm eating my Cheerios and I'm sitting down on my Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
What are you
Great
going to do the
night.
next day? I don't know.
Having a casual conversation as I'm drifting a high-powered car around a mountain
Yeah.
like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what's next?
But it was, and it was interesting with both of just talking about those villains being ranked on the same kind of level. In the first movie, the villain wasn't even that big of a deal. It was more about the dynamic between Paul Walker and Vin Diesel. And you could almost argue that, Dominic
Mm-hmm. That's
and his
how that
crew
felt
was
this
the
time
villain.
around.
And
Yeah.
then the business one, the dynamic wasn't so much about his beef with the villain. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
his beef, he had like inner beef with just learning to own up to his own stuff and then just trying to, he cared mostly about just drifting and being a good racer.
Yeah.
The whole like issues with the mob almost seemed like sideline, except for Han. That was a pretty big deal for him, which
Yeah.
is sad. But I actually think we're still. Wait, well, I might be wrong. I think now they say it a lot. I'm wrong.
2, 3, 1.
My rankings are 2, 1, 3. And so here's the thing that I decided is why I like 1 better than 3. Ultimately, it came down if you took 3 out of the series completely, you wouldn't miss much of the overall storyline. I mean,
That's fair.
there'd be some, but it could be a standalone movie. And so and I still get cringy when I watch that first scene. It just makes me want to just get in a car and wreck it myself.
It's rough.
Honestly. Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
And
That's actually one of the reasons I like the movie is because it stands so well on its own compared to any of the others, especially Too Fast, Too Furious. You'd be lost
It's
if
very
you
Right.
different.
watched that one without having
Yeah.
watched the first one first.
thank goodness for that turbocharged prequel.
Oh yeah, that connected the dots so well.
My dream for a comedy special is just to have an opening scene that's based off of the 2 turbocharged prequel, where it's just me driving to different comedy places, and then it starts in the live special. That's
With those same John Singleton style, like
absolutely have me eating at different Arby's or whatever. Like
You're map jumping.
I love it. It's gonna happen one day. We're gonna do it.
Oh, that
anyway.
sounds great.
That's a good. I'm holding on to
do
that
that.
idea for something. And then my villain ranking is I would do Carter's number 2, like the first one. He's the
Yeah,
best
Carter's
we've seen so
definitely.
far. And then I honestly, I would put DK over Johnny Tran because we did get to see more DK.
Yeah.
And it's like we were saying, very punchable face.
We
like
did
I
see a little
liked
bit more
not
of DK.
liking him. A couple things before we close shop here. Number one, I think I might have forgot to mention it earlier, but please follow us on all of our social medias. Let's take the conversation to Instagram or Facebook or honestly Reddit. We're on Reddit and Threads now. I don't even care about Threads that much, but we're there. We're on Threads. We exist. The Quarter Mile Podcast on everything: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Just Quarter Mile Podcast on TikTok. I haven't checked it today if it's still there.
If TikTok's still alive.
So yeah, we're there. If you love what we do and if you want to help support us, there is an option through our Buzzsprout, which is how we do the podcast, where you can join our Quarter Mile Podcast family, and you can donate $3, $5, $8, or $10, probably more if you want. We won't stop you. But that would be super helpful. If we got $15 a month, this would be a free podcast, and then anything after that, we could boost stuff and. I don't know, maybe be able to buy name brand sandwich meat if we made enough money from it. So,
That would
the
sound
goal-
great.
The goal is that National Fast and Furious Day. Like
yes, that's right. That's right.
Exactly.
We need to raise
Yeah.
$5,000.
Let's
for-
raise
that's exhausting saying that out loud. But
exhaust.
let's do it. Nice. Look at us in car puns. We're gonna eventually have a reel of just car puns.
Yeah.
It's gonna go viral.
Exactly.
If social media still exists then. But listen, thank you guys so much for joining us on this podcast. Thank you, Alan, for being our first ever special guest. Thank you, Rusty, and the Car Museum here in
Yes.
Jackson. What a beautiful place. We're gonna
that I've been blocking the whole time. Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna post some more videos about this place to kind of hype you guys about. Great place, and most importantly, thank you guys for listening or watching us on YouTube. This is the Quarter Mile Podcast. We're just here to remind you to have fun, watch a podcast, hang out, just enjoy life. Honestly, just have a good time.
And live your life 1/4 mile at a time.
Absolutely.